We are Fandom Roulette.
Two nerds with a passion for
History,
video games,
tabletop games,
and, well, really any nerdy stuff that comes into our lives.
While we might not be able to name every ship classification in Star Wars,
Or every Pokemon.
or every spell in the player's handbook,
Well, one of us can.
we're still here to have a good time. Hey everyone, welcome to Fandom Roulette. This is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And on Fandom Roulette, this is a podcast where we talk about a myriad of nerdy things, including history,
What?
video games,
No.
tabletop role-playing games,
That checks.
and anything else nerdy that we want to talk about. How's the energy is so different right now?
It is. It's because we're all in the same room with a guest.
What? A guest?
Yes.
You didn't run this by me.
Right. Well, you know what? We burned the budget, so I get
is
to
true.
spend my own new budget.
Yeah, that's the thing is the machine is at my house right now. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And we don't have to worry about it taking over the planet.
Oh,
today.
no. It's going. It's on the way.
Oh,
Like,
shit.
you know in Age of Ultron, how
Yeah.
he started like replicating himself?
Right.
Yeah, it's doing that now. There's like 3 machines. But here's the thing. I had an idea, which I could sell 2 of those machines, make a little profit out of it.
Oh, yeah. Put them on eBay.
Yeah.
Just don't tell anybody that they're world ending.
Why would I do that, Cody?
Exactly. So we have a special guest today.
Yeah, that was a good intro. Yeah, special guest.
My sister, Natalie.
Hello, everyone.
She is coming in with something special today. We're going to do a little interview about what she does because for you who are watching, it is super nerdy.
You mean hearing?
Shit!
Same difference. I mean, what is hearing but watching with your ears?
Fair enough.
A wise podcast host once said. Hey, but Cody, before we get into that, hey, what nerdy stuff have you been up to these weeks? That doesn't sound as cool, does it? Huh?
Well, I'm going to answer your question and ignore that last bit.
But, that's fair.
I have been playing so much Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
Ooh.
I've got like 50 hours plugged in now.
How many waifus do you have?
All of them.
Oh my god.
All
So
the
many.
ones that I want.
So many waifus.
So many. That and a D&D Prep, as you know. We had a session last Friday with a guest star who was super fun to play with, and that was the majority of what I've done in the past couple weeks. What about you?
Oh man, I played D&D in the session that you ran, but also we ran a 1.5 shot. Our friend developed a homebrew system that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was based off of Darks?
Yeah, I think
Dark Souls.
Yeah, it's kind of a Dark Souls 5th edition crossover jam that's really exciting.
Yeah, and then I've been reading comics and revisiting episodes of Star Trek instead of watching new Star Trek because I've heard that Voyager is a little rough. But one of these days I'll watch it. One of these days. I believe you. Sort of. Yeah, I'll watch it. It's part of my personal mission to watch all of the Star Trek.
Right.
Oh, I also was going back and watching some of the movies.
Cool.
Oh,
What movies did you see?
I watched The Wrath of Khan.
Okay. The OG one yet?
Yeah, the OG one, yeah. I don't consider Into Darkness Wrath of Khan.
That's true. It's not really.
Well, you know the thing that made me mad about that, Cody?
Oh no!
Because we're gonna go along. I wasn't even into Star Trek yet when they were talking about this movie. Like I saw the first one, I was like, it was okay. And then my friend was like, oh, they're making a sequel, right? And it was like, oh, cool. There's like they cast Benedict Cumberbatch in it. I was like, cool. And then during the interviews, they were like, yeah, so we're like paying homage to old ones. So I was like, are you guys doing The Wrath of Khan? And J.J. Abrams was like, no. What are you talking about? We're not doing the Wrath of... And then he like knocked over a water pitcher and ran out of the Comic-Con hall. And
Scatter!
But then and so then the movie came out and it was like Benedict Cumberbatch was like, by the way, that's not my real name. My name is Khan. And everyone was like, Yeah, we knew it. And I was like, that was lame, J.J. Abrams. But anyway, he's the king of space. We should all pay homage to him. Hey, guest star.
Yeah.
What nerdy stuff have you been up to recently?
Oh, gosh. I've been contemplating going back and replaying all the Kingdom Hearts games.
Hell yeah.
I just finished playing the third one not too long ago, and I was just telling Cody earlier my disappointment. I feel like everyone on this podcast is probably going to judge me with if I talk about Kingdom Hearts.
Okay. What?
But, no, I'm contemplating going back and playing all those games, and I'm also D&D prepping as well.
Nice.
I've got a bunch of students that are excited to play, so I gotta start writing my campaign up again. So, yeah.
So question. Yeah. So, like, when you walked away, did they hear you say, "Please don't go"?
How dare you?
I brought it back.
No,
the bit is back.
The worst bit.
Simple and clean.
When there was just a series of episodes where I was going through the Kingdom Hearts games, and he would find a way every time to fit in simple and clean. It was awful.
Life,
it was awful.
Finds a way.
Utada Hikaru finds a way.
But yeah, other than that, nothing much.
Well, that's still something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've been finished grad school too, so that's a big.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Yeah, that's
cool.
Been honestly the biggest thing. Now I actually have free time to do the fun things.
I remember, like, when I was going through grad school, a person who I was, like, acquaintances with, I wouldn't necessarily say we were, like, very good friends. I was like, yeah, I just got into grad school. She was like, cool, see you in December. And I was like, haha, I've been to college. I know that I work-life balance. And then, like, it was mid-October and I hadn't seen, like, another person outside of my grad students. I was like, what is happening to me?
Yeah, that was pretty much my life for a year and a half. Yeah. People will be like, hey, you want to hang out? I'm like, sorry, can't. Gotta study.
I have to read these, like, all these books.
All these scholarly articles that are not nerd related whatsoever. I played D&D with a group of my friends, and I had to go on a hiatus because it's just way too much.
I totally know how both of you feel, because I totally went to grad school.
Yep. Just three grad schools.
Yeah, just
right here.
Three of them.
3 grad schools sitting in a room.
Nah, just 2 non-grad school degrees.
That's alright.
Hey,
So anyways,
we
came here to interview.
On to the topic at hand. Well, how long are we at?
We're good.
This is surprisingly short for one of our intros, actually.
I mean, here we are. We've streamlined the comedy to a level that the audience can't even fathom.
It's what people like about comedy. It's like, I like my comedy tight, not rambling,
and only 6 seconds long.
And only 6 seconds.
I guess you Vine.
We live in the Vine generation.
So anyways, my sister here, we're interviewing because you do something super cool and exciting, and I wanted to bring you on board when you were a little more available, because you know, going through grad school and all. So why don't we start with, what did you go to school for?
Well, I finished my master's program in education and behavior analysis. Basically, right now I work with children, or middle school, high school students on the autism spectrum. And I help provide emotional behavior support for them throughout the day.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what does it look like day to day for that? I gotta look.
Oh gosh.
No, that's fine. So as of right now, I just follow them to their classes. Last year, I actually did a lot of social skills training, which brought in Dungeons and Dragons. My boss was just like, hey, do something cool, because these kids want to hang out with you. They're into Magic, The Gathering, all these different, like, Marvel comics, all that, and they were really into role-playing. They wanted to do more of that in school. So I just decided, hey, I'm going to bring in my love for Dungeons and Dragons, and a lot of my kids were shocked that I played Dungeons and Dragons. And they loved it. They wanted me to come up with a campaign and just lead them on a story. And then as the year went on, I started off with 3 kids, and now I'm up to a group with 9.
You have surpassed me in the level of ridiculousness that is adding more than 6 players.
Yeah. Well, now I have 2 coworkers that also play Dungeons and Dragons, so they're with me as well. So it's not just me corralling middle school, high school students, but they love it. They love making their own characters. They do some crazy things in my campaigns, and I
can't relate.
I have never seen a crazy thing ever.
Whoa. Crazy things in Dungeons and Dragons?
People throwing Molotov cocktails at government buildings? What?
No, nothing like that.
Nothing like that.
No,
accidentally fighting the good version of a bad character for like a year and a half.
Oops.
Nope. Not
when your
us.
party does an insight check for an entire campaign.
Oh my god.
And then we were... So... Alright, I'm going to do a quick little tangent here just to catch you up to speed. So yeah, we didn't have to do a single insight check for the entire campaign. And then literally like 2 sessions before the finale, my character had a hunch that something was not right. And so he mind connected to the bad guy. I was like, hey, I'm like out of spell slots. I'll leave all my stuff over here. Like, I just want to talk to you. And I was talking, he was like, I've actually been... Oh, spoiler alerts for our campaign, I suppose. He's like, I've actually been good the whole time. And then I was like... And then one of our friends was laying on a couch across the room because we were like... And we had just done like a 3-hour combat session. And he just sits up and goes, make an insight check! And I was like... Good idea.
And it was the first successful insight check the whole campaign.
Yep. My character stumbled into the happy ending.
And I thought that I had given you guys enough clues by making him shady as shit. He made 2 of the characters basically fight each other to the fake death in their minds to see who could like basically imprint on him.
Yeah.
I thought I gave enough clues, but first party problems, am I right?
That is fair.
I mean, with the kids I run the campaign for, they are hysterical.
Yeah.
I developed this campaign, and basically the characters are on a quest to find the Holy Grail in the snow-covered mountain, kind of Game of Thrones-esque setting, like Winterfell. And so they meet this, mysterious character who gives them this quest to find this treasure in this mountain with a white dragon. And of course, immediately all these new players are like, let's go fight the dragon at level 3.
Level 3?
And
yes!
Now, is this an ancient white dragon?
Well, I can't.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I can't spoil it for them.
Never mind.
Spoilers for the listeners.
Well, spoilers for the listeners. Yes, it is an ancient white dragon, and so in my mind as a DM, I'm just like, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm gonna kill this entire party if they decide to do it. So as a DM, I'm throwing other monsters at them. I throw an abominable yeti at them.
Okay,
very
that
cool.
Doesn't deter them whatsoever.
Yes.
One of them actually ended up dying. That encounter. Then throwing ice elementals at them. I plan on throwing another, probably like a saber-tooth, something that's maybe a little easier on them, but they're not getting the hint. There's only one party member that's like, hey guys, maybe we should go on another small quest so we can level up, and then we should go find the Holy Grail.
No, you put the Holy Grail in front of them.
That sounds like a serious Joe player.
So they've taken some damage, and I think I've ran 3 sessions with them total before they went off on summer break.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So the older, like the high schoolers, they played with me for a while. So my one student, he knew how I run a session, and so he kept trying to tell the party, don't do it, don't do it. She knows what she's doing. And I'm just like, and the best was one of the players, he was a human knight, fighter. And the first thing he decides to do is go into the blacksmith shop and go, I want to attack the blacksmith.
Yes.
And
classic.
The best was, I'm like, okay, roll for it. He rolled a 1. The first roll ever.
Oh,
and
yes!
Oh, 1.
Justice tastes so sweet.
Yeah, that was probably the most gratifying moment as a DM ever. And what's great is they call me Dungeon Master throughout the school day, too.
That's so
that's
cute.
Adorable.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, so they're just like, oh, Dungeon Master, what do you have in store for us like on our next session? Because we play on Fridays. So I'm like, oh, it's going to be good, guys. Don't worry. You may have to make new characters, but it'll be good, though.
Yeah. So what was so there's a human fighter. What were some of the other classes that you had?
So we have a barbarian.
Yes.
We have a dragonborn. I'm trying to remember. Dragonborn fighter as well.
Okay.
We also have a tabaxi rogue on our party.
Tabaxi rogue. Can't go wrong with a cat.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
and knocking things off of tables.
Literal cat
too.
Yeah.
And then we also, I'm trying to think, it's been a while since I've played.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many new races that are coming out on 5th edition. I know there's one that my students like to refer to as Birdman.
Oh, the Aarakocra?
Yeah.
Oh. Or the Kenku.
I was about to say, was it the Kenku?
Kenku are so silly.
There is a lizard folk in there.
Very nice.
Yeah.
But a lot of them have geared towards Dragonborn, like either a fighter or we have one paladin who makes very good sandwiches, and he's a human. So.
The human paladin, known specifically for making sandwiches.
Yes. Anytime he has to make a roll in a encounter, he always rolls horrible.
Oh,
but then when he's like, oh, I want to make a sandwich to replenish some of my health, I'm like, all right, roll for it. And he'll roll natural 20s to make the best sandwiches.
Can I say that's something I love about Dungeons and Dragons so much? It's as a character who rolled pretty garbage in combat, if memory serves. I don't actually remember. I did okay.
Yeah, all right. It was a pretty average spread.
I was outside of stuff, I would rock the weirdest challenges.
Yeah, because you were you wanted to start basically a band with one of the party members.
Well,
and every time you guys would join together to make a little extra money, or you wanted to raise morale, those checks, it was always 19s, 20s, and it was just the most memorable songs known to man.
So the origin of this is we were trying to get an NPC to the hospital section of a compound.
Okay.
And we were asked to be discreet about this mission. And so I'm just look around to see if I can find the medical wing, right? Or the med bay, because I've been watching a lot of Star Trek at the time. I rolled a 1. And then someone else rolled a 1. So we're riling all these people up. It's the middle of the night. They're all in this area. They're like, why are so many people asking us about where the med bay is? Because at that point, Cody was just rolling with it and referring to it as a med bay. I was like, I had a guitar that my character just had, and I was like, I play a song? And Cody was like, all right, roll it. I rolled a 20 on a performance check. So I went from 1 to 20 and then started a band. It was pretty rad.
Oh,
so
there you go. Origin stories.
Yeah.
The worst roll I ever had, I rolled a 1. It was one of my first characters I ever made. It was a human druid from the 70s, was a hippie. It was my favorite.
Yeah, I was in that campaign for a hot minute.
Opal.
I was playing Frankenstein.
Fun.
I remember. That was so long ago. But we were in this cave camping for the night. No one set any traps. No one decided to keep watch.
Was this after I had to leave?
This was after you left.
Makes total sense
this was
now.
After your character was having twins.
Oh, that's right. I got prego.
You were called back to the capital.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we're in this
I got pregnant,
cave. We're all sleeping, and a bunch of goblins come into the cave. So our wizard Toe Cutter. That's his name, yeah.
He's a good name.
Pretty great.
He was from like the Mad Max realm.
Decides to set a fire trap for these goblins.
Good.
My character ends up catching on fire, takes so much damage that she's unconscious, and I have to make my death save throws. And I succeed on 2, and I had to succeed one more time.
Oh no!
And I rolled a 1.
Yes.
And I took my last breath.
Opal.
R.I.P. Opal.
It was, so the ongoing joke in the campaign is they still call my character Opal, but I'm a Dragonborn monk now.
Oh no!
And I'm a level 10 Dragonborn monk, so that shows how long we've been playing this campaign. Yeah. It
has been a while.
It's been a long time.
I was in at the very beginning, and I played a barbarian who got into way too much trouble. Yeah. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I switched to a elven ranger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ariana or something. I can't remember her name at the moment.
I think it was Ariana.
Yeah. And she was their jailer. Yeah. Basically, everyone in the party had committed an atrocious crime to the elven community, and basically they needed to complete some quests, and I was there with this tattoo, or with this basically this key that I could use to hurt the party if they were out of line.
Okay.
And then I had to, unfortunately, due to work-life balance and all that, I had to piece out of that campaign. Yeah. So apparently I left one of the party members at almost the top level amounts of exhaustion. Yes.
Yeah. That did happen.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one point of exhaustion was the worst thing ever.
Oh yeah, and this is a funny tangent story.
But, on this podcast?
On this podcast?
On podcasts?
On podcasts.
Tangents. We don't do those.
So I had just the most simplest encounter. It was supposed to just be there was a zombie that was trapped underneath a big old boulder. And they and their choice was they could go down this sheer cliff or take the long way around, which maybe at most cost them an hour. And so they decided they needed to see if this person was okay. So they decided to tie ropes. And so I made them do basically rope tying checks. And every single person rolling to rope tie rolled a 1.
Oh, no.
It was a 1 and a 3, I think.
Yeah, it was bad. So as they're climbing down, they all just start to fall. All of them take a ridiculous amount of damage, all because they decided to go check out this creature instead of go to the nearest town to rest because they had a level of exhaustion from traveling.
And then 3 gigantic zombies came off screen, so we just had to run out of there.
Oh yeah, it got really bad, and that's the party's joke is I can't kill them with monsters. I just have to kill them with gravity and exhaustion.
Cliff, yeah,
pretty much.
Their final boss will actually just be a 1,000-foot sheer cliff.
Honestly, that'll do it. That happened it was after you left, and I'm pretty sure that was right before Opal's character died. She climbed this cliff to get to that cave. So, and everyone else had to make, obviously, their climb checks. We were playing 3.5 at the time. So, one of the druids' spells was spider crawl or spider walk. Mm-hmm. So, I could just up the cliff and I was fine. Everyone else was struggling hard. I'm sitting at the top, just hello down there. And Toe Cutter lost his little slave Chauncey.
Oh, I remember Chauncey.
Yeah, Chauncey just fell and just splat on the ground.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was
He was actually resurrected, Chauncey.
No!
Just recently in the campaign, yep. Toe Cutter was reunited with Chauncey.
Oh, and I bet you Chauncey was
After
super thrilled.
A year and a half apart.
Oh,
something like
beautiful
that.
Moment.
It was a beautiful moment.
It was a beautiful moment.
I wasn't even there, but I know it was beautiful.
Yes, it was.
Put that song played.
And amazing enough, Toe Cutter's the only OG.
Oh yeah, every other character
in that
either.
Campaign.
I think the only one who's still technically alive is Frankenstein, but that's because he left the party.
Yeah.
All of the others died horrifically.
It was Toe Cutter and Opal, and then when Opal bit it, toe cutter still.
That was a really cool premise, though. We were allowed to make anyone from any, like, point in time.
Okay.
So, like, we could make fictional characters. We could just make, like, you know, because, like, you made a 70s hippie. And I was like, can I be, like, a fictional character? It's like, yeah, sure. So I was like, I want to be Frankenstein. So we kind of transformed a half-orc barbarian into Frankenstein.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that I'm finding, like, as I get deeper into, like, playing Dungeons and Dragons is, like, trying to develop kind of weird character ideas, like, you know, like a 70s hippie, because that's super fun, right? Yeah. And it's like, oh, it's a druid, and it's like, we think of, you know, druids kind of being, like, crunchy and things like that, and I'm always surprised, too, how characters will, like, almost unintentionally take on aspects that you were not intending when you developed them.
Yeah.
So, like, for instance, the character I'm playing right now, you know, I'm playing an artificer. It's a homebrew artificer that we found. And I realized, like, halfway, or, like session 3 or 4, I was basically just playing, like, a combination of, like, Beast from the X-Men and, like, with a little bit of Batman flavor in there. Oh, yeah. Because he's, like, a gadget guy, so he has, like, a grappling hook and all of this stuff. And then my first character, I had no intention, and one of the other players actually called me out on this. There's a book series that I like called The Lives of Locke Lamora, and you find out that the character, like, pretty early on, so this isn't really a spoiler, that the character is, like, a priest of the god of thieves. And so my whole character concept for my first character was, like, he was a reformed criminal who developed he was a cleric, but he was, like, a reformed criminal, because I had this story that I'm not able to find, but there was, like, a priest in some community who would, during his, like, sermons, would sometimes make a point to, like, roll up his sleeves, because his arms were just covered in tattoos from, like, when he was, like a criminal. And so it's, like, the whole power of, like, you know, like, reform and things like that. And then my parent was like, did you just spell Locke Lamora? And I was like, shit, I kind of spelled Locke Lamora. Like, that was totally unintentional. But yeah.
Yeah, right now I'm playing I can't spoil a whole lot because it's part of an ongoing thing that will be mentioned at a later date, but I'm playing a Dragonborn Warlock. And so initially I had this kind of Naruto thing that I wanted to do where, like, you know, a kind of unexpected, like, person becomes, like, a fucking badass.
Sure.
And, like, all of a sudden, like, I started getting some mad vibes from, like, Deku from My Hero Academia, and even a little bit of Bayonetta, a little bit. So I've got all this shit, like, kind of, because with Warlocks, you use your Charisma stat, and I'm playing a Hexblade, and so my melee attacks are all Charisma based. So I'm like, how in my head does it make sense that, like, a Warlock is, like, that good with their, like, swords because of their Charisma? And it's like, me and David, the DM, who's running it, are like, you know, we decided that, like, it's my force of personality. I'm not even holding the sword anymore. Like, it floats next to me, but, like, I'll, like, saunter onto the battlefield and, like, give somebody a look, and my sword, like, whoosh, like, shoots through the air and, like, and all this cool stuff. And I no idea until about maybe a month or two ago that there was this kind of Bayonetta vibe that I was giving off, and I was like, I love it.
Yeah.
Wait, because it's so not the Naruto vibe that I was going for.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I just created a character for a campaign at school. My coworker was a DM. So I actually got to play a character.
That's awesome.
Because my students really wanted me. They're like, oh, come on, you got to play with us. I'm like, all right, fine. And I played a water elemental, the
Genasi.
Genasi. And
cool.
So it's a water base, and her name is Aquafina.
Ooh, Aquafina!
Nickname Fina.
Okay.
She doesn't go by Aqua. And so one of the cool character quirks is when they speak, you can kind of hear undertones of whale songs, right? Well, her charisma is so low that I decided every time she finishes talking, it's just like guttural whale sounds, like.
Now hold up.
Let's rewind.
Every time she finishes a sentence, so no one takes her seriously.
Oh, perfect.
As a character, and they all loved it. They all cracked up because I always do the voices and stuff when I'm DMing or in character. I always try to act, you role play. Mm-hmm. And some of my they don't get into the role play as much, but they love it when I do because I just really get into it, and they're just like, "Oh my god, stop! Just stop."
Yeah, we both.
It's great, but just stop, please.
Yeah, we're both cut from the same cloth. I got a compliment last week. We did the finale of the session was they got like a sneak preview of the enemy they're going to be facing soon, and he's this kind of deranged like madman kind of a thing. And I had this whole, like, I just got so into character that when it was said and done, the person in the group who is probably the most not scared individual, like how do you even say it? The person who would be least scared of a situation like that was like, wow, that kind of put me on edge. And I was like, I did it. But yeah, I totally get that. But I only have like 3 voices.
I mean, hey, like, that's true.
And sometimes I'll just take my own voice and, like, tune it just slightly so it feels a little different. Yeah. Like Lady Cody is just a little softer and a little lighter.
Yeah.
Is that Lady Cody?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. Not quite, because I'm, this is podcast mode, and I'm speaking to make sure it's the...
So me making my guttural whale noise is probably like...
I mean, I was also... Yeah, I've done that before. Right. I had a... one of the party's favorites currently, Helga Highborn, is a...
Oh, yeah.
She's a valley girl.
I mean...
But she's super into, like...
5/6 of the party.
Oh!
No, Helga Highborn's hilarious.
But yeah, she's like, oh my god, but she is so into, like, the game's, like, fantasy narcotics, and, like, she's like an information broker. So basically she steals secrets and, like, sells and trades and all that kind of stuff. So, like, the party really likes her so far.
Well, I think the thing too is like, you were saying, that they're not necessarily doing, like, voices or anything like that, but I feel like that also comes with time and comfort as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, the students that played longer, they're really starting to get into the actual doing voices and stuff. They really, one of the things I love about being a DM for them is creating these worlds, because I tried doing just like already made campaigns, and
you borrowed my Curse of Strahd book,
and one totally read ahead.
Oh,
he read the campaign, so I had to I was like, nope, I'm just gonna make my own. And it was around Halloween, I did this whole thing where it's kind of like, Nightmare Before Christmas, when you have the doors of the holidays world. Well, it was like that, but it was like horror movies. So if you went through a door, you went into this alternate dimension of a horror movie. And they were, for whatever reason, they were obsessed with Pumpkinhead last year. You guys remember that horror movie? I don't even know what that is. It's honestly the most ridiculous horror movie, but it's about this cursed pumpkin, and this guy brings this, he wants to bring his son back to life.
Okay.
And so he goes to this witch, and she says to dig up this pumpkin head, and honestly just brings this demonic being that has a pumpkin head.
Oh, wow.
And so in order to defeat the pumpkin head, you had to kill the person who brought it back to life.
Wait, there's more than one?
Oh, yeah, there's more.
Oh, no.
So
it's not a great pumpkin.
They were... Just for whatever reason, they were obsessed with it. So I was like, all right, I'll make a D&D world based off this horror movie.
Yeah.
And what was cool is one of the players was a wizard, I believe. And I told him, I was kind of a jerk. I told him, well, this isn't a magic world, so you can't use magic.
Oh,
no. And he was so mad. Well, that's one of the things with... If I'm running D&D at the school, like, I want to teach them those social skills and dealing with those frustrating situations. So I'm like, let's throw a frustrating situation at him. And he was fine, but he was so mad when he stepped, because everyone's like, yeah, let's go to Pumpkinhead World. And I'm like, okay.
Especially as a wizard.
Yeah. Oh, rough.
Oh, so you're like, what, 1d4 like bow staff or whatever you get as a wizard.
Yeah, your bullshit quarterstaff.
Oh, it's a quarterstaff. Oh, it's even worse somehow.
So... Well, and yeah, so they thought that was really cool. I just like, anything that they're really into, because they're really into all sorts of different things. I know a bunch of them are really into, obviously, the Marvel movies are out now. So I'm sure I'll put a spin on Marvel Comics with my campaign. Yeah. I really just try to give variety to it.
Which is so funny, because that's how I structure my campaigns. It's honestly just like what I'm watching at the time. Like, usually I pick a theme while I world build, like the world, but as the campaign progresses and I'm like, all right, I need to really expand from that. Usually it's like an episode where I'm like, that was fucking rad. How do I do that in a way that like fits into the game? And like, it literally happened not last night, but the night before, where I was watching TV and I can't spoil what show I was watching, so Joe can't try to figure out what the next part is.
I promise you I won't let it game.
But there was a scene and I was just like, holy shit, that's how and so I've been spending the past couple of days trying to figure out like, okay, how do I get the party into that scenario in a really cool and interesting way?
Well, a really shocking thing to me too is sometimes, like, as we're playing, I'll notice something. I'll be like, oh, Cody, have you happened to, like, read X thing or, like, watch X thing? Cody's like, no. And I was like, that's crazy to me, because, like, this feels like a scene that was pulled directly out of that thing. And I think it's, it's one of those things where I feel like, our sort of, oh, God, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like, like we as like kind of like a generation are super into like revealing tropes and like learning what tropes are. And for some people, they like think they're super cool by saying like, I don't like things that have tropes in them. And it's like, well, sorry, because that's like everything.
That's literally everything.
And so it's like, I think it's really cool because it's like, I feel like having genre savvy makes D&D sometimes even more fun.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, I know how someone in a television program might react to a situation, and I might react the same way, but,
What's a group of 6 people how are they going to react?
So can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
And then we'll go into the middle. And if you want to, like, edit this part out, go ahead.
Sure.
That encounter we had in the hospital.
Yes.
Had you just watched Stranger Things?
Yes.
All right. Joel and I were talking about that.
Yeah, that's it. And this is spoilers, I guess, for season 3 of Stranger Things. But if you listen to the campaign diary, because they're audio. The party just recently went to a hospital and everything was just wrong.
Serious?
Yeah, and they were fighting.
Cool.
They were fighting this acid monster that was killing people and then like basically zombifying them. And so they walked in, and I literally had Joel put on the upside down theme from Stranger Things as you guys were exploring. And
see, I didn't know that. So.
Yeah, because it starts off weird because the actual song itself, like, it's kind of silent with like, or at least the first half is just kind of like those soft little like melodies and things like that. Yeah, just a couple different noises, but then all of a sudden it's like bum 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 bum, and it's like it totally like I had a nightmare about that once where like I heard that part of the song and like someone's like face melted off or something, and then I woke up and like. For some reason, that song, like, brings something out of me that I can't describe.
All right. Well, on that lovely note, I think it's probably time we should go into the...
Middle section.
Hey, guys. Welcome to the middle section.
Yes, welcome.
Where we talk to you guys about our social medias and such.
Yeah.
This is everyone's favorite part of the show.
Yes.
Because I'm always super awkward in it. Hey, Cody.
Yeah.
I want to send you a tweeter.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. I went to google.com.
Okay.
And I searched tweeter.
Okay. And you signed up for your own Twitter account?
I signed up for my own Twitter account.
Nice.
I want to tweet at you. How would I do that?
Well, you can tweet at us at fandomar_podcast. That's our Twitter handle.
Whoa, what a good handle.
So good.
That is. But I want to send you a longer email where I talk at length about how it's wrong that Cody stole from Stranger Things. How dare you take from the Duffer Brothers, two creators who have never taken any cues from any other creative forces.
Well, you can tell me your wrong opinion by sending an email to fanroulettepodcast@gmail.com.
But Cody, I want to send you an email, but I don't want you to sell my email to the Russians.
Well,
so we're gonna just keep doing that one, huh?
Yeah, but like
it's my own fault because I can't think of anything original.
Well, I have a solution for you.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, not for the problem with the Russians, but you can send us a.
I didn't realize you had a degree in international relations, Cody.
Yeah. I've been talking with the Russians, and
have you?
Yes.
How are they doing?
No.
Topical.
Oops.
If I had a collar, I'd be. See, I'm wearing a Henley right now.
Oh yeah. I see that. So, anyways,
Henley's
you can go to our website at www.fandomroulette.com, where you can find our episodes. You can find our bios. And then right before the social media links, there's a little area where you can give us your handle, your internet handle, or your name if you want, and a little box for you to write out whatever you would have put in an email but decided against. And it'll send it to us so that we can read it.
Do some people really call them handles like old trucker CB radios?
I mean, I do. So now I feel either old and or like...
I mean, it's awesome. I don't really care. Hey, Cody.
Yeah.
Where can you find episodes of Phantom Roulette?
Well, I don't know how you got
that
here.
That you're listening to right now.
Well, first, I don't know how you got here. But
you did it. Congratulations.
Congrats.
You stumbled upon it.
You stumbled upon it. You can find us on iTunes.
Did you ever have a stumble upon?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was cool. R.I.P. It's now a dead thing, I'm pretty sure.
iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Spotify.
Yeah.
You can also find us on your RSS feeds, your Podcast Addict, and stuff like that. And we're always looking to add more to the list.
I think sometimes they're referred to as podcatchers.
Yes, podcatcher.
Because they catch the pods.
Yes, with like big butterfly nets.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
or cat claws.
This audio medium, we're doing a lot of
cat clawing right now.
Right in the studio. Hey, what are the social media? This is the longest middle section we've ever done.
Yeah. Oops.
To explain Stumble Upon, no, I'm just kidding. Stumble Upon was cool. I meant to say R.I.P. Stumble Upon. It might still be alive. I don't actually know. I don't use Firefox anymore. But anyways, hey, what other social medias are we on?
We're on Instagram.
I feel like this always hits like a flat.
Yeah,
we're on Instagram and Tumblr. Still there.
Tumblr's still there. We're also on Facebook.
Yeah,
and we're also on MySpace.
Are we really?
No.
Are we on Friendster too?
Yeah, we're also on Friendster.
Heck yeah.
GeoCities.
GeoCities, Angel Fire.
We're also in
Google Plus.
The local newspaper.
Oh,
your local newspaper.
My specific local newspaper?
No. You're the audience.
Whoa.
Yeah, so if you go and find your local newspaper, we'll be there.
Really?
No.
Shred a full page ad.
Yeah.
Talk about blowing budgets on dumb things. Just kidding, newspapers. We just lost all the newspapers.
Oh, shit.
Shit, we're done now.
All of the inanimate objects listening to right now.
Yeah.
This was the worst.
That was great. Submit this one for a Webby.
Welcome back.
Hey guys.
Oh, that middle section was terrible.
It was great.
It was beautiful. So, Natalie, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
We haven't actually we've just been going on this long evolving thing.
Yeah, it's podcasting.
It's a podcast. It's a podcast within a podcast.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're inceptioning this shit.
What?
Yeah.
Well, where's Leonardo DiCaprio? I don't see him in here.
Well, he's downstairs. Oh no! He pulled off the Mission Impossible mask. So, a semi-serious question.
Yeah.
Have there been any challenges with being a dungeon master for not only 9 people, but 9 people, and as you said, and correct me if this is inappropriate, people on the autism spectrum?
There have been, that is correct. So, there have been, more of the challenges come from the students who maybe have those social deficits, if you will. A lot of them, because it is a social disorder, sensory as well. So a lot of these kids need social skills training, and also working on their communication skills and just their executive functioning, decision making, teamwork, collaboration. So with this game, it's actually been, there hasn't been too many hiccups so far.
Okay, cool.
Because all of them, there's all one common goal. And since they're playing different characters that aren't themselves, I feel like it's more of a creative outlet where they can kind of dispute and argue a little bit, because any normal D&D party will argue.
Yes.
But I haven't had any major problems with it. It's actually been really productive, and the kids want to keep playing.
Yeah.
They ask for more sessions, but honestly, I cannot do more than 1 session a week. That's a lot. Especially with a group as large as I run.
Yeah.
But no, it's been great, and I'm spreading my love for D&D amongst the school.
Hell yeah.
Spreading.
That's super awesome.
Has there been anything that's, like, really surprised you? Like, I know you said you hadn't done it for, like, super long before the summer break, but, like, yeah, anything that's, like, really stood out and you're like, whoa, that's really cool, you know?
A lot. I have a couple that actually have written their own campaigns, and they actually have gone beyond, and they've joined, like, D&D groups outside of school.
That's awesome.
That is very cool.
One of my students actually just finished his campaign, and he wants to be the DM for a couple sessions at school. So I'm like, yeah, I'll make a new character and I'll play. Absolutely. They've learned it really quick too. Like, a lot of the kids were so overwhelmed because I brought in all my D&D books, and the one kid, he's like, do I have to read this whole rule book? It's like, I mean, no, but you should probably look at it. You don't have to read the whole thing in one sitting before you play.
It's a reference guide, if anything.
Right. And they picked it up so quickly, and we use the D&D 5th edition character app on their phone. Just because it's so much easier than... I do like the OG paper and pencil, but a lot of these kids, it takes so much of our time. So they've just really grasped it so much. Yeah. It's very awesome. Cool. It's really cool.
I will say, like, going to the paper thing real quick is, like, I know that, like, sometimes with paper for me, like, if you don't have a great eraser, that, like, HP section becomes a mess after, like, 3 rounds, and, like, it starts to, like, I cannot look at it, and so, like, I like the cleanness of just being able to, like, backspace and, like, pull up and down, and so it's like, like, or having a huge section for notes or things like that, instead of, like, one of our friends, like, has so many notes on the back of her character sheet. It's like, well, what if I lose that particular page of my character sheet?
Oh, I know.
Right. Like,
that's what I always worry about. I keep all my... whoever does want to do the paper character sheets, I always keep it, because kids lose things all the time.
Sure.
But a lot of them, they love having the app on their phone. And I actually... we have a set of dice at school, too, so...
Very cool.
And I bring in my personal dice, but I don't let them touch them. That's the DM's dice. They know that.
They're very special DM dice.
Yes, but a couple kids have actually come in with their own set of dice. That's how dedicated they are. Yeah.
Nice.
And how much they...
I feel like that's when you really, like, have crossed the hurdles, when you buy your own set of dice.
Yeah, you become...
Oh, yeah.
It's like that jump between, like, an acquaintance and a friend. Yeah. It's like, once you buy dice, you are now friends with D&D.
Even if it's, like, as simple as getting that, like, the little plastic box with...
like the Chess X dice that you get at, like, your local game store for... Yeah, those are super fun.
A student played one time. the next session he came in with his own dice.
Nice.
So I was like, man, that was really quick. Usually it takes a couple sessions.
Yeah,
but
my sister did that too. She literally played one session of a campaign, bought 6 sets of dice, and then I have failed her because I promised her a campaign I haven't delivered on it yet.
Oh.
But it's happening. I have free time now.
Nice. No, this is free time. We're trying to get our campaign.
Your home campaign?
Yeah, our home. I know. Now I have a school and home campaign. It gets very confusing. We're trying to get that started up because it's been forever. And I love playing.
Yeah.
DMing can be stressful. It really can. Especially when the party decides to do things that just deviate off of what you have planned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, try to, attack the blacksmith in a little town. You're just like, oh, come on.
Yeah, there was a moment in my work campaign where we had just gotten to the city. We are mildly wanted criminals, but this town is kind of like not attached to the government of the nearby areas that want us. So this was kind of our safe haven. And then the party's rogue decided they wanted to rob somebody in this town.
Oh.
And so what I imagine to the DM, maybe 2-3 sessions max, ended up being like, we were in the same day for like 4 sessions. Because
no.
everything just went to shit because the rogue not only fumbled the check, but then like tried to run away and punched a guard in the face and and it just like progressively got worse. Then when we were trying to hide said rogue, that didn't work. And then she not only jumped out of a window on like the 2nd story of a building, but then proclaimed, I don't want to live anymore, and jumped into the river that was nearby as like a ploy to pretend like, oh, well, this person's going to drown themselves in the river. And it just kept getting worse and worse until finally I stepped in and I was like, all right, we're going to fix this.
Sounds like my nightmare.
It was
4 sessions in one day?
Yeah, 1 campaign day.
Yeah.
It was bad.
I thought one encounter I've had 1 encounter spread across 2 sessions, but that's because I have 9 people.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's hilarious when you're trying to figure out what to do, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, all right, I'll let them figure it out.
Yeah.
But,
So I have a question for you. You have played because your hubby, your husband, has gotten you into 3.5 before you played 5th edition.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess my question is, would you try to play 3.5 with your kids?
Oh, that's a great question.
Because of how, dare I say, complicated 3.5 is compared to 5e?
I would not. I've had one kid ask me, can we play 1st edition?
Ooh.
And I said, no. You can play that outside of here. Well, because his dad played 1st edition. I mean, every kid that's come in to play D&D with me, their parents are always like, oh, are they playing 1st edition? And I'm like, no.
We're 5 ahead of that now.
Grow up, old man.
Oh, man.
But no, I would not play 3.5 with them. I told them my horror stories from 3.5.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, yeah, we'll just stick with shit. I haven't played 3.5 in so long that I'd honestly have to go. I still have the books from 3.5.
We played 3.5 in college because not a lot of people liked 4th edition, and it kind of reached a point for me where it was more like I just wanted to hang out with my friends, and I was just like, because I'm not the world's greatest math person.
I'm not either.
Super great at math, and 3.5 is so math heavy.
Yeah.
And I was I always kind of wanted to try playing a spellcaster, but it sounded like 3.5 spellcasting was nightmarish.
Yeah, and a lot of the kids, some of them will want to play Magic base, and I know a lot of them, they struggle with math. I struggle with math.
Yeah.
I'm like, I would not I don't want it to be something that they don't enjoy because they have to do the math. At least with 5th edition, it's pretty...
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is the numbers are so small in 5th edition.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not like I rolled a 2. Now I need to add 45. Yeah.
Well, that one's not so bad, but it's like rolling like a 14. And it's like, well, shit.
Right.
I guess I don't do it. DM is like, what'd you roll? I'm like, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. I can't math anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I would not.
Have you ever considered trying out, like, other systems? Are you familiar with any other systems, personally? Like, have you done any apocalypse systems, or...
I have not.
No?
No. Okay. I'm trying to explore more of that now that I have free time.
Sure.
I'm going to delve more into the different... I know there's tons of different, like, homebrew classes as well. There was one that I stumbled upon not too long ago, and it was more... psychic based.
The Mystic.
Yeah, the Mystic.
Oh, Boise.
One of my characters played a Mystic.
Oh, yeah?
Boy, was that...
was that...
Well, the class is... At least the one that he presented at the table, which we, like, you know... There was the caveat that I was going to switch things up if they were too overpowered. But that one just had, like... You know, it felt like... There were certain things that felt balanced, but then there was always just like 1 or 2 things that Mystic could do, and it's like cool. Like there was an ability that he could do like 3 times a day where he could basically just shut off 9 combatants and just have them like run around and do nothing for like almost the entire 6 rounds that combat usually lasts. And it was pretty it got to the point where I would need to create always more than 9 combatants just so that someone did something on the enemy turn.
Someone could do something.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I had... One of the kids wanted to do their own homebrew character, and it ended up being very similar to a dragonborn ranger.
Okay.
Huh.
But his he overpowered his stats a little bit. It was the first time.
Sure.
And I told him, you're better off actually being a dragonborn ranger if you want these abilities. Because some of his scores were lower in places where they should have been higher. And that was just, well, that's my homebrew. Like, you're better off playing the actual class
homebrew is tough.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me to hear, like, oh, they all want to play, like, Dragonborns and stuff, right? But, I mean, it's so funny to me because it's, like, I remember I rolled my first character in high school, and, like, well, I mean, and, like, like, I feel like at that time, when I came to it, like, Dungeons & Dragons was such a wish fulfillment thing for me, right? Where I like to think of myself as, like, a calm, like, even-headed, like, kind of logical person. And so, like, all I ever wanted to play was a barbarian. I wanted to play a character who was, like, strong and impulsive and aggressive, and I like dwarves, so... But it's, like, it's just funny to me, because it's, like, oh, yeah, like, if I'm a middle schooler or high schooler, like, of course I'm going to want to play, like, the big, scaly, like, dragon face. Because, like, they're not going to let me play a dragon, so that's, like, the next best thing, right?
Unless you join one of my games. One of our characters is a dragon.
But I mean, like, it's just so funny to me to hear that, because it's like, I remember being that age and just being like, all I want to do is, like, hit stuff and get gold and get the coolest armor. And now I'm like, so anyway, I'm going to try to find every possible way to avoid combat as much as humanly possible. Like, if I can charm my way out of a situation that feels like it's building to combat, I'm going to try to do it, because that's more interesting to me now as, you know, an older player.
I remember my first campaign. It wasn't... I mean, it was set in a zombie apocalypse campaign. It was my intro to D&D way back when.
Oh, yeah. Is that where I was playing Kane?
I don't know if you were in this campaign. I don't think so. This was way back when I was like 17 years old. And I remember playing, and I'm pretty sure the DM didn't like me at that time. He
Oh, well, it definitely wasn't the game I was in, because that was your husband.
Had the Oh, yeah. No, it wasn't that.
She did say at the time.
At the time.
Well, right. My character encountered, like, a mega zombie, whatever that means. And my character literally got punched through a window.
Cool.
And was incapacitated for, I think, 3 sessions.
Damn. Rough.
Because the DM was just... that was my
just
first...
Just didn't want you to be there,
Just did not want me to be there, and he found a way to make it so I could not play. I was unconscious for a very long time.
And I will say, props to you for sticking with it.
Yeah.
Like, if something like that happened to me, especially at like fucking 16 or 17, I'd been like, fuck this.
Yeah, I'd be like, peace, I'm out.
Yeah. Like, I don't care how much magic or how big my sword is. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, 3 sessions, I'm out.
Yeah. Well, I stuck with it, but, I mean, I've played so many campaigns, I'm losing track of all of them.
Yeah, I remember the one that we played went a couple places ago. It was a long time ago, where we were in a zombie apocalypse, and we were like the last, we were basically the vessels of gods.
Oh yeah.
And I was playing a necromancer named Cain. Because I thought I was being edgy with Cain and Abel from the Bible. Because, that's super edgy.
Hell yeah, dude.
And, and I remember, like, my favorite thing was we got attacked by a polymorphed rabbit that turned into a tiger.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And we killed it, and I was like, can I turn this into one of my minions? And so... the DM was like, sure, roll for it. And I think I rolled super high, so like for a really long time, I had this ridiculously overpowered tiger that would basically just run into every combat and kill everything, and I just stand there being like, I guess I'll heal you. I guess I'll do that thing.
I want to imagine that this character had like paralysis of one hand where it's constantly doing the Fist of Rock.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Heal.
But yeah, we played that for a little bit.
Yeah.
There were so many there's so many campaigns that we started, but then due to time, like we only made it to like session 2 or 3.
I mean, that's the way of it, right? It's like I am always shocked that like, and granted, we have like a very committed party. You know, like a lot of people who really like to play, but like I'm always surprised like that we get as far into campaigns as we get.
Yeah, the fact that we finished a single campaign with everybody on board after like 2 years.
I had a joke once where it was like, I think the highest level character I'd ever gotten in my D&D experience was like 5. Like level 5.
And that, and we ended that session or that campaign with you guys level 10.
Level 10. Which I mean, still though, like, I think that's a kind of a testament. Like, granted, I was playing like a lot in college, and college is its own special bag of, you know, scheduling tricks, and it always kind of sucks when, you know, the DM graduates and there's no one really there to pick up the slack. And granted, you know, my school has a very unique Worcester had a very unique senior year experience, which is that you spend an entire year on like one big project. But I was like, I'll try my hand at DMing, guys. And then like 2 weeks into school, I was like, nope. I have to write a 90-page paper about pirates. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I chose to write that. I did have to. Shit, man. I'm talking in circles. Yeah.
I have a question about battling with 9 people.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I'm curious about this.
So, Joe and I's mutual friend created a D&D system that kind of truncates a lot of the extra fluff of D&D, like magic, combat, truncates all of that into a pretty quick system.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, from a DM who plays a lot of 5th edition to another, how do you feel about 5th edition combat? Like maybe in terms of length, like how long does it usually take for combat to go?
Oh,
like what does
with 9 people, it can take a whole session. Could be one combat encounter.
And what level, like what difficulty is the encounter? Like would you define it as like, would they be deadly encounters, or are they more like...
They're not all deadly. I mean, definitely the Abominable Yeti was...
Sure,
yeah.
I would say that was categorized as potentially deadly, and it ended up being deadly for one of them.
It would be a medium encounter for Cody.
I'm not that mean.
But honestly, I try to throw, like, medium to, like, very easy... Just to get their feet wet a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It can take a while with that combat. And just getting them to decide what they want to do.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'll give them choices of what they can do just to speed it up a little bit. Because a lot of them haven't, this is their first time, so they don't know what they can do.
Sure.
So I try to...
Makes sense.
Not gear them towards winning per se, but give them those options. Okay, this is a really good option, or this is not such a great option. So weigh the pros and cons of each. And that seems to help speed up that combat a little bit. Sure. But that's all they want to do is combat.
Sure.
So
once again, I've been that.
They don't just want to kill enemies and get XP and then get treasure and then move on.
Right.
You want a Helm's Deep style experience, right? Like you want to face an army of 10,000 and then you don't realize that facing an army of 10,000 means like probably at least 5 sessions of gameplay.
Yeah. Right. And that's if everyone is on board and going as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Cuz when David was running that his kind of Dark Souls clone-ish thing, he actually came up with a very unique initiative.
Oh, okay.
Well, that, and he actually decided to just put a timer on us.
Yeah,
he had a sand timer and just was like, if we were like kind of,
dragging
beating around, dragging our feet, beating around the bush, he'd flip the sand and be like, all right, you get to pick, like, if you don't figure it out before then, your turn's over.
That's a smart idea.
But he also came up is a strong word. He implemented a system that we both have heard through our various, on the internets and things like that. The fast, slow initiative, where if you're only doing one thing on a turn, you go first.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And if you want to take your whole turn with like moving and doing like a spell or whatever, that's a slow turn. And they go last. And the players always go first. So, like, you also get, like, the enemies get to pick whether they want to go slow or fast, too. But they always go after the player on that round.
Okay.
And it surprisingly made things really quick. Because all of a sudden, instead of being like, all right, what's your initiative? Or, like, having to write down everybody's, like, initiative score. Or, like, with Popcorn Initiative, you guys pick who goes next, and sometimes that can be like, what's the plan? And with Fast Slow Initiative, as it was presented to us, it was very much like, well, I know what I'm gonna do, and it's gonna be quick, and like, so I'll take the fast turn, and then from there, it's just like, all right, you do the thing, and it surprisingly went really fast, as long as everyone was on board with that, and I will be for sure implementing that in our game.
No, I like that idea a lot, because I know it can take a long time, and especially with their initiatives, because I have to write down all.
Yeah, you gotta just 9 people
on the board, and then I gotta like write the enemies ones too, and I'm just
try to mix and match all of them.
Well, then we tried for a hot second, everyone re-rolling initiative at the top of every round, and like
that was I made.
Why would you do that?
Mistakes were made.
Well, it was Cody had found. Do you even remember what that was called?
It wasn't. It was before Popcorn.
He had found this thing, but like we were too deep in the campaign to like implement it. Where it was sort of like every action got like a point value.
Oh yeah, I think we nixed it before it even got put to paper.
Oh,
but basically, you would roll an initiative dice, but your initiative dice would depend on your action.
Yeah.
So instead of rolling a d20, if you were like, I'm going to swing with my sword, you'd roll a d6. And your goal was to roll the lowest.
Yeah.
And so what would happen is if you were like, yeah, I want to take my whole turn, I want to shoot an arrow, I want to jump into this bush, I want to take my bonus action, like you would roll a d20. And so the idea was that if you were doing quick things, you would potentially go first, but you still had that kind of rolling mechanic and still using initiative and stuff like that. But I feel like Dex is already such a strong stat that anything you do to initiative is really just like whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't know. For me personally, I am a fan of, and I think D&D is designed to be this way. Is it power? Like it's a fantasy. It's a power fantasy.
Sure.
You are heroes doing heroic things, and so like the idea of like rolling dice to determine initiative is like, that's cool, but like I want you guys to like work together and do something really cool. Like in the last battle, you wanted to jump off the back of one of your players so that you could basically do like a power slam with your suit, like with your built gauntlet.
Yeah.
And that only would have been viable in a situation where you know, it wasn't like I rolled a 2 on my initiative and then the other player rolled like an 18.
Or another kind of key example of that is we were in a combat situation where basically one of the players had a really good idea and it involved this item, and he remembered that he had an item on his person that could negate the combat. Remember this was the Froghemoth battle?
Yeah.
And he was so low in the initiative, tree that, he was so frustrated because he had this really good idea and, he had to sit through, basically 20 minutes of people doing dumb things. Or not even dumb things.
But
just
things
doing
that went
things
against
that prolonged the battle for him to do his really good idea. But with Popcorn Initiative, he could have been like, hey guys, I have an idea, and then someone would have thrown it to him and then he could have done it immediately.
Yeah. And the way I've been doing it recently, which I think works for that kind of cool SEAL Team 6, you're all a band of expert fighters, is that you roll initiative at the beginning of combat and then whoever rolls the highest goes first. But what happens is when they take their turn, instead of it going to the next person on the list, they choose who goes next. Yeah. And then the caveat is whoever goes last gets to pick who goes first.
Oh.
So the players never want to give the enemy the last turn because the enemy can just pick itself. Yeah.
Oh.
So it you can do things like, I want to Nova the shit out of these goblins, and if we can do it this turn, it's over. Yeah. But I might live, and then all of a sudden I have a whole round before they can even act. Yeah. And so it's cool, and I like it, but I'm thinking about switching it to for the Dark Souls initiative, because it's so much faster. Yeah. And it keeps people keeps you
on your toes.
Yeah. And yeah.
Can I say a weird thing that I read recently that got me really excited, and I don't know why?
Yes.
So I was reading a review of Pathfinder 2.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And it's something I have to investigate further, but one of the things they were talking about is, and I don't know why this gets me so excited, but it does for some reason, is now attacks of opportunity are a skill, and not something that everyone has.
Oh.
And I think that for me, that would make combat much more interesting for me personally, because I feel like at the moment D&D combat feels very much like the RuneScape or old RPG model of walk up and it's I swing my sword and then a number pops up above their head, and then they swing their sword and a number pops up above my head, because I'm personally afraid of trying to get out of there and invoking an attack of opportunity. But and you don't know this ahead of time, so some enemies might have it, some enemies might not have it, but I feel like it would be cool to just have the opportunity to just kind of roll out of your one-on-one duel and go over to your friend who's dealing with something bigger, and it gives you more. It felt to me if not everyone has an attack of opportunity, it gives you more field of motion, which could potentially create more dynamic like combat situations.
Yeah.
Where it's like I can move out of this like 5-foot radius because there aren't going to be like 4 monsters that can get a hit popped off on me.
Yeah,
know?
There's definitely like a weird magnetism because of attacks of opportunity, especially early game, because it's like if you get hit in an early like level 1 campaign, like that could be the end of your character.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, like, once again, not to go back to like, Helm's Deep, but like, I think that's like I feel like that's what a lot of people like think about when they're going into like D&D.
Yeah.
Where it's like Aragorn is fucking running all over the place. He's here, and then suddenly he's like behind the wall, and then suddenly he's up like there at the tower, and like there's always orcs around him, and there's always orcs doing things, but like it's not like as he's running he's like ooch 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 ooch
yeah
ooch,
like
ooch,
ting,
ooch.
ting, 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 ting.
Like he's able to choose where he is most needed, and it's like for me like I try to think about it like that, but it's like nope, there's like 3 guys around me, and so I have to take care of these 3 guys.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't change combat at all. But, like, I felt like I was like, combat kind of... That might make combat kind of dynamic because I don't know if they were going to pick up my, like, mortar voice. Goodness. So if this were to try to, like... If more students were to try to join this club... Yeah. Would you consider doing something where it's like kind of the other 2, like teachers that are helping out, like maybe splitting it up into like 3 smaller campaigns? I liked the idea that you're giving students the opportunity to like try out their own hand at DMing and things like that. Like, is there any move to like make this more of like a formalized, or I don't know what like the level is, but it's like kind of like, oh, it's like an after school club, and it's like anyone who wants to show up, like there's going to be 3 or 4 sessions, and at the beginning you'll say like mine is kind of like horror, and someone's like mine's more like high fantasy, and they get to choose who they want to be with that session.
Yeah, so since I actually have a couple coworkers that do play D&D, they're kind of sitting in on the sessions right now with me, just kind of getting a feel for the group.
Sure.
What they're interested in. My idea is to split it.
Yeah.
Just because it is so much to try to manage and to keep all their attention too, because some kids are more into like the role-playing aspect. Sure. Some just really want to
punch a lot.
Punch a lot.
Punch a goblin.
So for me, my hope is to at least get one of my coworkers, because he's been playing Dungeons and Dragons as long as I have.
Sure.
So, and he's actually DM'd for me a couple times so I could play. So he's getting into it, and he's been interested in DMing. So hopefully we could split that, because I know we already have a couple new kids that want to play. Sure. So now we're going to be up to possibly
11.
Yeah, 11 kids.
No mas.
What? Man, like good on you for running 9 kids. Like, I think the most I've ran was 8. And that just turned into...
Oh, yeah.
It just turned into everyone just talking, and then, like, nothing ended up happening.
Well, and that's what happens most of the time, is just even getting them settled and ready takes about 15 minutes.
I can't relate to that.
No, it takes us way longer.
Well, that's with another dude helping me out, but... Sure.
It's true. I don't have a coworker helping me out.
We're all bad.
But no, that's what I want to do. I want to make it more they can kind of pick and choose and have a couple characters on hand. So
sure.
And also I like being able to switch up the campaigns every now and then, because with the home campaign that I'm in, we swap campaigns. So we play my husband's one weekend and then our friends the next weekend.
Sure.
So we're not doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah. So that's kind of my hope, is to do that this year. Mm-hmm. Friday will be our first session of the school year. Cool. So hopefully it goes well.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds super rad.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. When Cody was talking to me about this, I was like really excited. One, because it's like, there were so many reasons to be excited about it. So like, one, it's super exciting to hear kids getting excited about D&D.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a cool project for, like you said, like building things like teamwork and social skills and problem solving and all of this stuff. And it just really, it's such a cool, unique way that I think with the increased popularity of Dungeons and Dragons and like it's no longer, you know, like a bunch of scared suburban moms being like devil worship,
right?
Yeah, I'm really happy that the Satanic Panic has really like basically died at this point, except for like a couple of
like fringe people, but like it's like the same people who don't let their kids watch Pokemon because of evolution, like
Oh yeah, it's really cool because honestly, when last year when we started that. You know, our coworkers were trying to figure out, so what's our interest and how are we going to bring that into the school? And I was like, well, D&D, let's do it. And I honestly did not think it would spread in popularity as quickly as it did. And that they would want me to continue it as a social skills component for school. So it's been awesome.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like hearing about it, I was just like, that's so neat, and like I wish that there was something like that when like I went to school.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We had one kid who was like a grade older than us who wanted to play, but just we could never find dedicated people, and it was just like, damn, I wish I had that in high school. Fuck, I would have done that instead of theater.
But here's the funny thing. Is I discovered D&D through a friendship in theater. Because I mean, like when it boils down to it, like you're basically an improv troupe of murder hobos.
Yeah,
like
I'm a murderer.
Yeah.
Don't take that out of context.
Like, but I mean, like, yeah, and I mean, like the other thing too is, you know, I'm the type of person who has like, if I were to dig deep enough, like. You could find, like, little notebooks that I had where I would write down, like, 3 sentences of a story and then, like, never go back to it.
Right.
Right? Or it's, like, I love developing things. Like, I remember as, like, a kid, I had this whole weird thing where it was, like, each one of the, like, constellations was, like, its own kingdom. And, like, there was going to be a kid who, like, found out that he could, like, you know, travel between them and stuff like that. And I put in all this work and I never did anything with it, right? And I was like, and like, you know, I had another one where it was like this whole dwarven kingdom and every single like gem that like I knew about had like different magical properties and it had a very Avatar feel to it and things like that, but I dropped it. So it's like, one of the things I really love about D&D is like, it's the fact that it is this collaborative storytelling thing. It is working with other people. And I only have to be responsible for like, in our campaign, currently like 1/7 of a story as opposed to all of it.
Yeah.
Because that's really intimidating and that's really daunting. But like, yeah, the fact that it's like collaborative storytelling where it's like, and there's enough people to keep me honest. Like.
Well, there's so many players too, depending on what they decide to do, it drives the story. Like, when I originally planned this campaign, I had so many other ideas and then they just started doing different things. I'm like, all right, this story's going a completely different direction than I wanted, but it turned out so cool.
Yeah.
And it's just been really cool to see them actually want to hang out with each other and, you know, be like playing this kind of game. Because a lot of times they want the video games. And I love video games, don't get me wrong. I do love my video games, but it's just nice to see them doing this kind of collaborative play.
Yeah.
Without the screen.
If I could tell one more brief story, I remember the first time I really thought of D&D as like something special, where like I was watching a review of Skyrim, and I love Skyrim, and they were talking about, it's like, Skyrim is so cool because like you can talk to the guy giving you the main quest, and then you can say, that's cool, and then walk all the way to the other edge of the map, and then like put a bucket on a dog's head, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, basically what they're saying is like, it's like one of the most open worldy sandboxes I've ever played, and you don't have to pay attention to the main quest if you don't have to, but you can still have a fun time doing it, as opposed to, you know, like a game like Zelda or Mario or whatever, where it's like a very linear moving thing. And I was like, yeah, but at the end of the day, everything you can do in Skyrim is programmed. And I highly doubt that like Skyrim, you know, like one of the things about D&D is, and like I don't say this in a way that like, you know, is meant to create like a to suggest that there's like an animosity between like player and DM or anything like that. But like I always get excited when I say something that like I know that like a DM hasn't planned for. Right?
Yeah.
Just to see like how they react to it, because like at the end of the day, someone has programmed out every single thing you can do in Skyrim.
Yeah.
But it's like, there was a combat that we did in the last campaign where I decided as a bard to not attack and do a perform action. And I don't know if you ever saw that coming, but It was really cool to see how you reacted to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, it's like thinking about things in different ways. And the fact that it's like, our minds are like infinite. And like, we can always think of something that breaks convention in one way or the other.
Yeah.
So
I know the kids they always say I have the funniest facial expressions. Of course, you can't see that on the podcast, but whenever they'll make a decision that I'm just like, oh, come on. And they all they'll just start laughing because they know I'm just like,
you're just so frazzled.
I'm so frazzled.
At the fucking harebrained scheme that they came up with.
And I'm just like, all right, here we go. But no, I love that too. It's so open-ended and you don't know what. Sometimes you just can't predict what they're going to do.
Yeah. Like you could think you come up with everything. I propositioned this party in the last campaign that they had to kill a white dragon. Mm-hmm. That was just a thing. And then one of the players was just like, but what if I want to save it? And I was just like, fuck.
And we did.
And eventually they did. And we did this ridiculous, like, I hadn't planned this before the why don't we just kill it thing happened. Mm-hmm. But I wanted there to be a challenge to get in there and, like, deal with it. And so I did this kind of family double dare spoof. Where it's called Party Dungeon Dare.
Well, and then
oh my God.
Another thing, even in that situation, was the way that we handled the Beholder.
Yeah,
we told the truth. Like, what a novel concept.
Yeah, and instead of trying to lie to this Beholder who could disintegrate all of you in like a matter of minutes, given the opportunity.
Yeah, and by telling the truth, like, not only did it like give us an ally, it made another challenge down the line easier, and like it created this whole domino effect, which like made us a little more fresh for the family double dare, which gave us an ally that we could use for the ancient white dragon thing. It was rad.
Yeah, it was a very cool downward spiral.
When we were first playing, we were playing in our friend's like living room, and so it was all kind of scattershot, and some people were sitting on couches, and some people were sitting on the floor, some people were sitting on easy chairs and stuff. And wherever I would where I sat, I would always have a direct line on Cody's face. And when we got a Cody face, as I started calling it, it was always the happiest thing for me. We were just like, yes, Cody has very good facial expressions as well.
Yeah,
I don't familial or something.
Yeah, I don't have a good poker face. I can't hide my emotions.
I don't either, especially when I love it when the kids roll ones.
Oh, so good.
Especially there's one, he just knows. He'll make eye contact with me and he'll just be like, "Yep, all right, it's going down. All right." The DM has spoken.
Right.
So
I'm going to we're gonna end this episode on one final note.
Heck yeah.
So we're gonna play a little game that you who've been listening are familiar with, but our guest is not.
Oh gosh. Yeah. All right.
This is called You and a Group of Adventurers. And I'm gonna give you a elevator pitch with a little bit of a party composition. Yeah. Okay. And your goal is to guess which nerdy fandom I'm talking about. Yeah. So like what video game, movie, comic book, cartoon.
No. All right.
So I've got a couple. I'll throw two at you.
Okay.
You and a group of adventurers must fight a tyrannical reptilian to save the kingdom. Your party consists of acrobats.
Super Mario Brothers?
Yep.
Yeah!
Oh, wow.
That was good.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right. I get it now. All right.
And then the last and final one, and we'll call it an episode.
Heck yeah.
You and a group of adventurers must fight against a god while dealing with the supernatural phenomenon that plagues the land.
Ooh.
Your party consists of a rogue, some wizards, and a fighter.
Some wizards.
This one's a bit of a stretch.
Okay.
And I'll explain after
A rogue,
you make your guesses.
Fighter. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank.
Natalie, I'm upset with you.
Oh,
You should know this.
Well, read it again.
Yeah. One more time.
You and a group of adventurers must fight against a god while dealing with the supernatural phenomenon that plagues the land. Your party consists of a rogue, wizards, and a fighter.
A god, supernatural phenomenon.
Tell me when you give up, because then I'll give you the final hint that'll give it to you.
Is it Endgame?
No.
No? Okay.
God.
Is it a movie?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a movie. Oh, wait. A rogue, some wizards, and a fighter. Fighter god, supernatural phenomenon. Is it a goof movie?
A goofy...
What?
No, is it a goof movie?
Oh, is it a comedy?
Is it some silly boys? Or girls?
It is a
depending
comedy.
on when it was made.
It was a comedy.
Is it Ghostbusters?
When someone asks if you're a god, you say
Oh,
yes!
Oh my gosh. Oh,
yes,
yeah.
it was Ghostbusters.
Alright, yeah, you have every right to be mad at me for that. Yeah.
Who's the rogue, out of curiosity? Peter? Okay, that makes sense.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, that was the close... Because he's not like... He is definitely a charismatic individual, but I wouldn't call him a bard.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's kind of... And he's kind of a little sneaky.
Yeah, sure. I get it. No, I feel it.
Yeah.
They
So
have
that
those
is our
proton
game,
packs.
you and a group of adventurers.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, if you listen to the last 2 episodes, we did a couple on there. We won't spoil the answers for that, but yeah. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
And thank you, Natalie, for joining us
Natalie.
and talking,
awesome.
just nerd geeking out about Dungeons and Dragons and
yeah.
tabletop role-playing
Yeah,
games. This
thank
has been
you
a
for
blast.
having me.
Yeah. Yes, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe if you're listening on a device that has one of those things. Please share this with a friend. Let other people know. Go back to the middle section to find out about our social media. Anything else I'm missing? I said the rate, review, subscribe thing already.
Yeah, no, we're good. Thanks again for listening.
Everyone. Yeah, this is awesome. Signing off for Phantom Roulette, this is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And I'm Natalie.
And as always, stay nerdy.
Stay super nerdy.